The Dr. Jeff Spoder Show is brought to you by Big Earns Stone Lion Sculptures.
It's the gold standard in stone lion sculptures.
If you're going to have a stone lion, it's got to be Big Earns. Good evening, Dr. Jeff Spoder. Thank you for being here tonight for the Dr. Jeff Spoder Instructional Strategies. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. We have two special guests that I'm really excited to have on the show tonight, so I think it's going to be a great show. Just real quick about myself, I'm Dr. Jeff Spoder. I have a PhD from Columbia University in Instructional Strategies, and in my spare time, I'm a freelance tattoo artist, and I also enjoy ping pong, and I'm an avid Yahtzee player. In fact, last week I got 3 Yahtzees in one game and had a 464. But enough about me. Let's bring out my first guest. The first guest we have with us today is from White Plains, Georgia. He goes by the name of Steven Baxter. And interesting story. Steven wasn't supposed to actually be on the show. It was kind of he kind of filled in a spot and helped us out. Steven's brother, Austin Baxter, Mr. Baxter to the students, is a teacher here at Lancaster High School. He's a 10th grade United States history teacher. And unfortunately, Austin couldn't be with us today. He had to cancel. Something came up and he couldn't make the show. But he said his brother was in town and instructed me that his brother could fill in and maybe help us out a little bit with what we were going to be doing today. So let's go ahead and bring out Steven Baxter. Thanks for being on the show today, Steven.
Oh, hey, it's real nice. You know, it's a real nice bus ride up here on that gray bus. I like them. It's real comfortable seat. Maybe move back and stuff.
Good trip. Steven, so you're from White Plains, Georgia, I understand, and your twin brother Austin is a teacher here at Lancaster High School. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience could get acquainted with you and, you know, maybe be a little more comfortable with you here.
Oh, I'm from White Plains, Georgia, and I'll tell you what, it is nice down there. I ain't never seen snow like this before. Y'all come up here and this is like up to my ankles and stuff, and I was just tromping around all through, and I thought to myself, what is this? It's weird. I don't know.
Excellent.
I wish my wife could come up there. She would have loved that bus ride, and she would love all this snow too, but she don't come north of Mason-Dixie.
Oh.
Yeah, she's still angry about that war to stop Southern independence.
Yeah. Okay. Steven, what exactly do you do?
I currently work at the Steak and Shake, and I'm a assistant shift supervisor for the cooks. And I'm currently applying for jobs as a golf pro. There's a lot of them golf courses in my area, and so I thought I'd maybe apply for that.
Oh, great. Okay, so cool. Golf pro.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that hard to me. I don't know what about this. I'm just hitting a little ball in a hole.
So do you golf a lot then, Steven? No?
No, I ain't never golfed before in my life, but it just doesn't seem that hard to me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, maybe you're just naturally talented and it'd be a good deal for you. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to actually bring out our next guest.
Sure.
We have 2 special guests here with us today. Our next guest is actually not from the United States. He's from Canada, so we have a Canadian here with us today. Why don't we give a big round of applause to a very special friend of mine who is here all the way from Nova Scotia, Dr. Rowdy Burns. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Rowdy Burns. He has a double PhD, actually. Dr. Burns has one PhD in assessment and the other one in curriculum instruction. So, Dr. Burns, why don't you just quickly tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Both my PhDs are from the University of Toronto, and I'm an avid miniature cat figurine collector.
So, Dr. Burns, one last question before we get into the content-related topic here. Any future endeavors, publications, books, any big lectures, presentations coming up in the near future?
I'm glad you asked. Actually, I'm getting ready to publish my first book. It's a collector's guide to my cat figurines.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes. Great. Wouldn't expect that from a man with 2 PhDs. Now we're actually going to transition to the most important part of our show. where I have a chance to ask these gentlemen who can help us out and help you out, Lancaster High School, with some of the OGT content-related issues and obstacles that you're going to see on the OGT. So, gentlemen, I have 4 questions, really. Dr. Burns, we'll start with him since he's a little more prestigious and decorated in this section, if that's okay with you, Steven.
That's fine with me.
Okay, thank you. When looking at the OGT, what is most important for students to remember about such key concepts such as, let's start with industrialization, Dr. Burns?
It's a good question. For industrialization, I talk about urbanization, the Industrial Revolution, immigration, and worker conditions.
Okay. So it would be important for students to remember such key concepts as the growth of cities, urbanization, how we went from handmade tools to machinery and factory jobs, immigration. We had a huge influx from Europe coming in. Our population massively increased as immigration from Europe increased. And also how the horrible working conditions really affected the workers and made a push for more of a regulation in the government.
That reminds me of my steak and shake. I know I'm moving up in the company and everything, and I don't think maybe I should speak bad about the company, but sometimes my boss isn't very nice to me. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, along those lines.
Okay, because I think maybe I'm going through industrialization.
The second part of the question is imperialism. So, Dr. Burns, what would be some major concepts to inform the kids about when discussing imperialism?
When discussing imperialism, I would focus on who, where, and why.
The who, where, and why. 3 very important questions. The who being, obviously, the European powers.
Rock group from Europe in the 1960s?
I think it was.
Yes, I believe so.
It's a little heavy for my taste. I don't like that hard rock.
But the who, in the sense of imperialism, Stephen, is would be the European powers. Okay, and what did they do? Well, they went to other countries such as Africa, the Middle East, India, China. They were powerful countries. They took advantage of weaker countries. They wanted to explore new markets. Okay, they were motivated by money. The why, they wanted money, and they also wanted to spread their culture. So it's important for students to understand that was this huge motivation for these powerful countries to go to these weaker areas and really take advantage of them, and they could prosper off these weaker governments. So. Okay, and the last part of the question would be the Enlightenment. Now, Dr. Burns, that's a very huge time period in our history in Western civilization. What could you help the kids out with as far as the Enlightenment?
It was a major way of a change in thinking, many great philosophers, and the social contract.
The social contract, the people must agree with what the government's doing, or it's their duty to revolt and to create a government that does agree with them. Also, the idea of natural laws or natural rights, and that every person is born with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and property, and that you cannot take those away from anyone. Those are all major elements that are very important for the Enlightenment. Would you gentlemen agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know much about that stuff. I mean, it just sounds like hippie stuff to me. I don't know.
We're still waiting for it to happen in Canada.
What other concepts and topics would you think or believe to be very important ones that the students probably could see on the OGT?
Like capitalism, communism.
Even maybe mixed market.
Even mixed market.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you know, you've probably learned from Mr. Baxter. Your brother is a great teacher, by the way. He does a really nice job.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He's a very good teacher. I think
Have you ever seen him teach?
well, he come over to my house, and he was with my daughter, and he was trying to show her something. I don't think she got it. So I don't know. He never explained that to me. I don't ever understood it.
Back to what the doctor was saying about the economic systems, it's important for students to know that on the OGT, they will need to know what capitalism is. And in the truest sense, we really don't have a capitalist market here in the United States. We have a mixed market, okay? We have different aspects where the government is involved, okay? And then we have different aspects where the government is not involved. The laissez-faire concept of hands-off, okay? Where we have a mixed market, a little bit of both. However, the Soviet Union on the other hand, had more of a communist type of government, and the government was very controlling and hands-on in everything. So, Steven, did you, you said you don't know really anything about economic systems. You never had an economics class in high school or anything?
Yeah, I actually never finished high school. I just never thought, I just thought it was stupid. I just thought it was a bunch of junk. I mean, what can they teach me? I don't need an OTG, I just need a JOB.
Okay. I can understand that.
So I'm working at Steak and Shake and going to try to become a golf pro.
Dr. Burns, what are some test-taking tips, and what can you let the kids know how to maybe take the test better?
First thing I would do with the multiple choice questions is read the question, read each answer, and then go back. For example, read choice A, and then reread the question. Read choice B, reread the question, and proceed that way so you can eliminate the wrong choices.
That's stupid. That seems like it's going to take a long time to take a test that way. I don't know.
What would you suggest, Steven?
I don't know. I think tests are stupid. I would probably just like go through and put like try to spell stuff.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Interesting. Yes. Well, one point I'd also like to make is if you're not sure about a selection, a possible answer, keep it. Don't eliminate it because it could possibly be the correct one. Now, like Dr. Burns said, if you're positive that it's wrong, make sure it's eliminated. Okay, get it out of the way. What about, that's multiple choice, which they're going to see a lot, obviously, on the test. What about the extended response?
I think the key with extended responses is to make sure you don't leave it blank. Write something.
Right. And to go off of that, make sure you analyze both parts, or all parts, whether it's a 2 or a 4-point question. Make sure you're answering each and every part, because some questions have multiple parts, and you have to address multiple topics or multiple issues in questions. So I think that's very important to understand as well, that there could be multiple things that you need to address in the extended response answer.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Spoder.
Dr. Spoder. Thank you.
Okay, we got a college boy. All right, that's fine. But don't you think it's going to take a long time
to answer the extended response?
Yeah,
well, it's not a multiple choice, Steven. It's an extended, drawn out, analytical, thought out response that requires the individual to think and to analyze and interpret data and concepts and topics, and really trying to measure what the young people know.
I don't agree. I just think it's stupid.
Well, what do you think is stupid about it?
I don't need to sit here and talk to you college boys about this stuff. Y'all think you're better than me or something, but
no,
y'all ain't. So that's all I have to say.
Well, Steven, we had you on the show because we wanted you to give us some of your helpful insight, and we're not trying to attack you or anything. We're just trying to get another viewpoint on here to remember to help the kids out.
I don't know. It just sounds like y'all trying to make me feel stupid or something.
Not at all. Not at all.
I feel stupid.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for the instructional strategies with Dr. Jeff Spoder. Thank you for joining me on another great episode of this show. You can check me out at 2 a.m. on the mornings on WOSU, and also I'm trying to get a new show up. It's actually a podcast that I'm trying to get, and you can also catch me on University Radio. 4428.3, the Spode. This week's program was brought to you by
High Energy Sport Packs and Wave. Pumpkin Tray Orange by Plastoware. These are perfect for all your Halloween and fall themed candies. So for something like, it'd be great for something like you had some candy corn or something. I don't know. It just sounds like y'all trying to make me feel stupid.